allow yourself the space to be creative. Don't push anything. Like, just give yourself grace and trust that you have everything in you. You're going to get the answers you want.
Join us in this next episode as we sit down with the remarkable Heidi, a seasoned business strategy and leadership coach, acclaimed author, and the dynamic host of the Be S.H.E podcast. Heidi's journey is nothing short of inspiring, having been featured on major networks like Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, and the Daily Herald. Over the past 5 years, Heidi has dedicated herself to helping women not only achieve their goals, but also build online businesses they genuinely love. Her mission is clear: to provide female entrepreneurs with the tools and strategies to confidently navigate the world of online business, creating success on their terms and crafting the life of their dreams. In our conversation, Heidi will dive into the entrepreneurial beginnings, sharing insights on why she started her business, the most significant lessons learned during her journey, and the scariest moments she faced when building her empire. She'll generously share tips on overcoming fears, growing brand visibility online, and the keys to enhancing productivity in business. Don't miss out on this candid and insightful conversation as Heidi discusses her entrepreneurial highs and lows, offering valuable advice on releasing limiting beliefs, conquering perfectionism, and setting yourself on the path to lasting success. Hit subscribe, join the community, and let's learn and grow together. And thank you so much, Heidi, for being here today. It is such a pleasure to have you. And I would love for you to just dive into your journey. How did you get here today? What was that like for you?
Well, first, Dr. C, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here too, and I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. So I got started it was 6 years ago this month, actually. I started my business. And the reason I did is because basically I was navigating through a divorce. And prior to my divorce, this was 10 years in, I was a stay-at-home mom. So I had a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old at the time, and I had been highly involved in their school. I was room mom. I was on the auction committee. Everybody knew me. I was very highly participative in there all day, every day. And now I was finding myself needing to figure out a way to make money to support my children, myself. I had 6 animals, I think, at the time, 5 animals. Yeah, 6 animals at the time, I think, and my home. I wanted to keep my home. I really wanted to keep everything as normal for them as possible, although normal wasn't the same. So I got to create a new normal. I did end up working 2 jobs while I was building my business, and I found coaching. So I was very confused. What am I going to do in order to be able to stay home? And I was on Facebook and I found this coach, and she was like, do what you know. Well, prior to being married, I was a personal trainer. I had done radio sales, I had worked in event sales, and I had worked as a personal trainer. And I competed in bodybuilding and figure. And that was the last thing that I did. So I was like, oh, health and wellness. I'll go back to health and wellness. And Dr. C, it was not the same as it was 10 years prior. Because moving online, I wasn't an online junkie. I didn't know anything about the online space. I hardly ever posted on Facebook. And I was like, okay, how hard can this be? I see everybody blowing it up. Everybody looks like they're successful. Everybody has the perfect life. So this must be super easy. Little did I know is that the online space, the health and wellness had really changed because it was highly niched. And meaning that there was keto, there was gut health, there was vegan, there was so many different things. And I was like, I only know the one way. Exercise, food in, food out, nutrition. I knew all that and I didn't want to learn it. And I realized at that moment that wasn't my passion. So I started working with women. I was moving through a transformation. I was setting goals and meeting them. And I wanted to help women do the same, to navigate changes in their lives with ease and also set their goals for themselves and actually create them, manifest them, and reach them. So I started working with women in that capacity. And as they were hitting their goals and their lives were getting better for what they wanted, many of them wanted to start their own online business. And they had seen my business evolve. So that was the natural progression of my business. So that's how I became a business strategy coach through that. And my why, which is what I get in touch with my clients, has always been my kids, has always been wanting to be home with them, wanting to be able to be here when they get home, pick them up from school. And that still drives me to this day.
That's beautiful. And what a transformation from where you were to where you are now. And I'm really curious because I know you said you were working 2 jobs, you were trying to figure out the online space, and it can be really brutal. I think there's a lot of fake posts that make it look like it's so easy, and it's really not. There's so many things that go into it. But when you did start to really focus on the coaching aspect and like strategy and business strategy, how did you even start that? What did that look like for you?
It was really scary. because well, the first thing that happened when I started my business was I didn't realize I joined a coaching program. That coach that I had found, I joined in her program, and she was a high-end coach. I really couldn't afford it, but I jumped in anyway. And it was scary. And I was watching people thrive online and like, what is holding me back? And it was fear. It was the fear of being seen, the fear of being heard. And that was things that stemmed from my childhood. So I had a person inside of the program. She was in it too, and she was crushing it. We became friends and we were DMing, and little did I know she was in England. And she said to me one day, she says, I have a challenge for you. Will you accept it? And I was like, sure. And she goes, great. You get to go live inside the group right now. And your topic is my breakdown to my breakthrough. And immediately, Dr. C, my throat closed. I started shaking. I started sweating. I started freaking out internally. And I was like, I can't do that. She goes, I will be here to support you. But you need to do it now because I'm across the pond. It's after midnight. I get to go to bed, but I will be up here supporting you if you do it now. So I jumped in and I was bawling, crying. Like I tell everybody, you'll never have a worse live stream than I did. I did because it was just horrifying. I was crying. I was bawling. I was the ugly, ugly cry, hyperventilating. A migraine was starting to set in, and I did the live. And she came back in the DM and she's like, great job. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. And she said, I have another challenge for you. Will you accept it? And I was like, how bad can it be? It can't be any worse than that. I said, sure. She goes, great, you get to go live for the next 5 days. I said, good night. And I went to bed. I went to bed. And the next day I woke up, and inside the group was so much love, so much support from other members inside the community, thanking me for showing up vulnerable. Vulnerability was one of my biggest challenges inside of my business. And that took me a long time to navigate through. And that's what's going to help people, entrepreneurs online, be successful, is being vulnerable, showing up as you authentically, really being okay with your quirks, with your fears, and sharing them out with the world. So many people had said, thank you for showing up in this way, because now you've inspired me to go live. You've inspired me to step out of my comfort zone. And one of the coaches inside the group actually did an impromptu training that day around my live stream, around vulnerability. I don't know if that answered your question. I just felt to share that. So if anybody listening has fear, do it anyway, because you never know that one person that's out there waiting for you to show up that you're going to inspire. And I was still scared after that. My fear didn't just disappear in one day because I had so much love and support. I still had it. Now I can go live on a dime. Does fear creep up every now and then? Yes, because we're human, but I can navigate that much easier now. And so if there's anything that's holding you back in your business, just go for it, because there are people that are scared too, and you're the light that's going to move them through that process.
Just like you were the light for so many people as well. And I love that you brought up the vulnerability piece, because I think that's a big part of our business, is what sets us apart, of just sharing our story, tears and all. That just shows that we're human, that we experience things, and other people to see that. That's when people connect. Just being a former therapist, and people would break down my office, I was like, yes, they're having a breakthrough. They're understanding how much this hurts, but how can we navigate through this now? Because I think that's part of when we hit rock bottom, or have the worst live stream, or just have like maybe the worst client or whatever it is, it's teaching us a lesson. And that's what I think. And also with that vulnerability piece, but how you navigated that, being seen, being heard. And I know that's a huge part of what your podcast is called, She as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the podcast? Because I feel like it goes so perfectly with what we were just talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And just to comment on what you just shared, healing is feeling. And no matter what we're going, like I was coming out of a divorce, and I was also very in my masculine. And I still navigate through that. And, we're doers. When we're entrepreneurs as women, many of us are in our masculine because we're like, we've got to get this done. We've got to, this is what we're doing in order to provide for our families, or whatever your goal is. And I shut down for a long time. So that cry was important for me to move through. And so if you're moving through anything, the next level of wherever you want to go, just remember that healing is feeling. The more you can get into those emotions and you can share that with your community. And like you said, vulnerability is connection. People connect with your journey. They can connect with your feelings. So make sure you're sharing that. Because I know for me, it wasn't easy. And I'm sure many people out there, it's not easy too. Podcast, it's funny because if you told me 6 years ago I'd have this podcast, I would have been like, no way, because had a huge fear being seen and heard. And now I have a podcast called Be S.H.E, and it stands for Be Seen, Be Heard, Be Empowered. And it's geared toward female entrepreneurs who are building and scaling their business. And I bring on guests and do episodes around empowering women to be seen and heard so they can create the life and business of their dreams.
I love it. It's just, it goes so on that mission that you're on and just helping so many people because of your experience. And I think that's a lot of times why we do what we do, because of what we've gone through, because we can help them navigate through it as well, because we've been there in that experience. And I'm really curious because I'm sure there's been a lot of ups and downs through this journey, but what is the biggest lesson you've learned while building your business when you started?
I would say enjoy the journey and trust, because where you are now in your business, probably not where you're going to be in 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years. Everything's going to start flowing, and you'll have some turns that you get to navigate. And as you're growing, your client, your avatar is going to, as you're pivoting or as you're growing, so are they. So just trusting where that you're moving in the right direction and do it anyway. That would be one of the biggest things I've learned too, is do it anyway, because do it scared, because that's where your growth is. That's where you're going to get to your next level. If we stay inside of our comfort zone, we're never going to grow, and we're never going to get to the next level. And you're going to be missing out on an incredible journey of what you can create in the world and for your clients.
And it is facing those fears. And I think that's a big part of what you had to experience as well. And even going over those fears, it's scary at first, but once you do it, it gets a little bit easier each time. You're going to have challenges, ups and downs, and everything in between. Hi, friends. Today's video is so special because it's brought to you by our incredible sponsor, Love Sorrow, where your stories meet craftsmanship in the most beautiful way for both men and women. I've recently discovered their custom fine jewelry design. Trust me, it's a game changer. Check out these amazing pieces being delicately crafted. Each one tells a unique tale, and the best part, you can be a part of the design process. With over 50 chain styles crafted from solid metals, you get that timeless piece that is permanent and seamless without a class. Your piece, your style, your story. Love Sorrow, our sponsor, is offering you a chance to enter a world of understated enchantment. Head over to Love Sorrow's store locations in Los Angeles, California, and Boulder and Cherry Creek, Colorado, to begin your journey. Let's do this together with Love Sorrow. Now back to the show. I'm curious because when you did that first live stream and then you were given a challenge to do 5 days and then people started really gravitating towards you, how did you continue to overcome fears that did pop up throughout your journey?
Having a support system is key, because I don't know if I ever would have gone live without her pushing me. And she pushed me with love, and I'm always grateful. I always call her my angel, because she's the one that got me to get out and push me out of my comfort zone box. So having an accountability team, partner, somebody, a mentor that's going to support you along the way to move you through those fears, to hold your hand while you're navigating them, because everybody's fears are different. Some people have fear of failure. Some people have fear of success. How am I going to keep this going? If I succeed, if I have a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month, how am I going to keep it going? So it's easy to self-sabotage ourselves along the way. And so having someone that is cheering you on, but not only cheering you on, really holding you accountable to what your goals are, what your commitments are to yourself. Confidence comes by holding the commitments we make for ourselves. So for example, if we say we're going to exercise and we make a commitment to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, to get out of bed and go run or walk, but if we get up and we say, I'm too tired, and we don't hold that commitment to ourselves, our confidence goes down. Our subconscious starts to not trust ourselves. So when we commit to something else, especially if it's bigger than that first commitment, your subconscious is going, she's not going to do it. She didn't follow through with the other commitments, so she's not going to do that. So every time we hold the small commitments we make to ourselves, we put another coin in the confidence jar. And having someone there that BS, that's not going to take our excuses, and that's going to actually push us forward and say, no, you committed to getting up this morning. Get up. I'll walk with you on FaceTime and we'll do this together. Somebody that committed to you, and it may not be your sister. It may not be your best friend. So make sure that you're finding somebody that you trust will hold you to that. And many times that's with a mentor or with a community of like-minded individuals, or it's one person that you trust that's really going to push you forward. I have an accountability group. Every Monday we meet, and it's three of us that were in this leadership. We were in a leadership program but we didn't move that through that together, but we coached together in another round of the leadership program. And we've come together and we create quarterly goals, and we meet every Monday and we say, where are you? What support can we give you? What's working? We really hold each other to that, because we each want to follow through with that goal. Because if we don't, we're letting our team down, and we want to be on a winning team. So we're always driving each other forward in a loving and supportive way. But so having a somebody like that that'll hold you high is what's going to support you in that, in moving through the tough times.
Absolutely. I think support is everything, because you're right. It might not be family or friends that are there to support you. They want to support you in the best way they can, but they might not know exactly what you're going through or how to run a business or what tips or tools that you can use in order to really facilitate that. But I'm glad you brought up the aspect of failure, or failure of success, and failure of or just failing forward. But I think part of that is understanding that a lot of times we might have limiting beliefs, or not do something until it's perfect, or wanting to even press the button to go live because, well, it's not going to be perfect, or I don't know. How do you navigate those limiting beliefs and perfectionism?
I am a recovering perfectionist. I admit it. Everything had to be perfect. And I learned something, and it was the most brilliant thing I'd ever heard. Messy makes, write that down somewhere, stick it on your wall, stick it on, messy makes millions. And people like messy. Perfect, nobody likes perfect. Like right now, I like getting dressed. I like getting done up. It's my thing. But not everybody's going to resonate with that. That might be too perfect for somebody, but that's me. And you show up as you, and that's perfect for you. But you do, when you're doing a launch or you're putting out some content, just put it out and walk away. Like, it doesn't get to be perfect, because you're going to learn through messy. Messy is only going to get your business growing and get you to grow. And people connect with messy. They like messy because nobody's perfect out there. So talk into that. If you are a certain way, your quirks, whatever makes you, talk into that, because you're going to attract your ideal client, your avatar, through that. Limiting beliefs. Ooh, I have had a lot of those. And one way I go through that, and still things still come up. They're always going to, because if we're not, because that's how we grow, right? Journaling has really helped me navigate through that, to go, okay, is this true? Is this really true about me? Is it my belief, or first you find out if it's true. And most of the time, no, it's not true. Where did this stem from? Because many times those beliefs are not ours. They're from our childhood. They're from people that had those beliefs that we took on as our own beliefs. So really getting clear on where those beliefs came from. How old was I when I first had that belief, when that belief system first entered and I took that on? Who did that belief come from? And it doesn't say they're right or wrong. It's that there's no right or wrong here. It's just taking responsibility for yourself and going, I don't want this holding me back anymore. And I get to clear that. In order for me to let it go and move forward, I get to clear that. And the way to clear that is really getting connected to where that stemmed from and how you took that on as your own, and knowing that it's not yours. And you get to create, what is the belief that I do want to bring into, what's the belief system that I do want to take on? And you can start building that with affirmations that are opposite of the previous belief. But understand that with affirmations, it takes time. It's something you get to read, because you don't fully believe in them at the beginning. So maybe even reading them 3 times a day, because your brain doesn't know what's right or what's wrong. What we're feeding it. So if we're feeding it negativity, that's all it's going to know. If we're feeding it positivity, and I am powerful, I am successful, I am a money magnet, whatever you're saying, just keep doing it. And every day that you do it, your brain's going to start believing it more and more. And all of a sudden, those things are going to appear to you. And those limiting beliefs that you had before are going to disappear. I'm fearless. I love going live. Things like that. Whatever your fear is at the time, or your limiting belief is.
I love both of those aspects, because the perfectionism, going back to that first, I think a lot of people, what you said about messy and making millions, or messy in the millions.
Yeah, messy makes millions.
Messy makes millions. I love that, because I do believe that. I think a lot of people want to see that you're human. You're not a robot. You're not perfect. No one is ever going to be perfect, and you're perfectly imperfect, and recognizing that and just owning that. But I love that you mentioned that. And then going into the limiting beliefs, a lot of times I think people do hold themselves back. They heard something when they were a child, and that stayed with them in their subconscious and didn't allow them to really shine and grow and be visible because of maybe something that's happened or was said to them. And they really perceived it in a way that stuck with them throughout their whole life. But I love that you really shine through on that and just being you, showing up, being visible. How do you grow your brand and visibility through this journey, especially when you're trying to focus on building your business and getting it out there?
Growing your visibility, really everything starts with your branding, and your branding is you. So what is it that you love? What colors do you love? Like, implement those things. Also think of who you're attracting. Who is it that you want to attract as well? But your branding starts with you. Because everything that you like, I have children. That's part of my brand. I bring them in. I show pictures. I have animals. I love dogs and cats and animals. So that's part of my branding. What is your mission statement? And also, like, what are your core beliefs? And core beliefs in my business include fun. If I'm going to do this every day, I want to have fun along the way. So that's what I share. And I bring in women. That's who I attract. I bring in women who also want to have fun while they're building your business. Because there's two ways this could be. Building a business is hard. It's not easy, but it can be simple and it can be fun. And it gets to be fun and it gets to be simple. As far as visibility goes, that for everybody, that journey is different. I would say getting yourself out there on social media is key. Building your email list is really, really important, because at the end of the day, that's what you own. You don't own social media. And a few years ago, the social media went down. I think it was a couple years ago, went down for 24 hours. I want to say it went down for at least a few hours, if not longer. And everybody lost access to their audience. But if you had an email list, you could still make your offers, you could still nurture, you could still connect with your audience through that. So number one thing is get out there with an email list and get visible there. Stages is great. Stages is that was my focus in the last, I would say, 6 months. And my big focus for next year is getting on stages. And stages are all different things. It doesn't mean getting on a physical stage per se, although that's my goal too. It's podcasts just like yours, Dr. C, getting on podcasts like mine. Reach out to us if you want to get in front of an audience that's not yours. Leveraging other people's audiences, serving other people's audience. And it all leads by serving. Because if you're out to get something for you, it doesn't work. But if you're actually out there to provide value for somebody else's audience, it's going to be a heck yes for them, because their goal is to serve their audience and grow their audience. So how can I serve your audience, Dr. C, and help you expand? And I'll be doing that by promoting you on to my audience. So it's a win. So podcasts are one stage, summits are another stage. Live streams, collaborations are live streams. Collaboration is the new currency. So if you're not collaborating in 2024, you're missing out on a huge piece of revenue for your business. So just, interviewing people in front of your audience, and vice versa, them interviewing you, getting out there and doing your launches, whatever that looks like, your 3-day events or your master classes, webinars. I'm trying to think. Physical stages are great too. And if that's a goal for you, you can start locally. Call your local networking chambers and see how you can connect and what value you can provide for them. Maybe if your target is women, maybe there's a small women group that meets once a month that you can provide value for them and get in front of. And that's how you're going to start developing those bigger stages, because the bigger stages want to know where you've spoke before, right? So those are the stages that I would say start on. But stages is a great way to get visible. But even just going live on Instagram, social media, Facebook, that's going to start growing your audience and getting you more visibility in that space.
I love this. This is so amazing what you're saying, because I do agree. It's about collaboration. It's about just going live, collaborating. I think we're better together and we can serve more people.
That's my saying. Oh my gosh, I love that you just said that.
I didn't know that.
I always say that we're better together. That's so good.
But I do believe that. And that's even why I created this channel, was to create voices and have that impact from so many different people, but especially yourself and what you've been able to accomplish and really put out there and grow your brand and visibility. But you're helping so many people feel valid, feel heard, feel seen. And those are the most important aspects, I think, of a business, but the human connection. That's what it always goes back to for me as well. But even with growing your business, I know there's a lot of aspects that happen in a business. How do you maintain just staying more productive in your business? What are some of the key points for you?
My calendar. Everything happens on here. Everything happens here. If it's not on here, it doesn't get done. And I have a small team, and I tell them, if you want something done and you tell me, I better get it to you in the next minute or 5 minutes. Because if I don't, you're probably not getting it until you ask me again a week later. And that doesn't help our business at all. So just having everything on my calendar, they even have access to my calendar to put things on there for me to make sure that it gets done. So that's my main way of staying on track. And I also do, this is kind of different. I have a little bit of a morning routine. I know people talk into that. And this, I'm not a big believer in morning routines as far as it has to be in the morning. I do believe you get to take time for you. I was a doer and a goer, and I admit there's days I still am, and I get to check myself and go, whoa, is this where you want to get back to? Because that led to burnout. As I did burn out a few years ago. And I don't want that to happen again. So when I feel that coming on, I go, what's and what's not working? And what's not working is you're not doing your routine. And my routine is, and it takes 5-10 minutes a day. It's not a big thing. It is my gratitude journal, and it's not here, or I would show it to you. But I have a gratitude journal where I literally every morning will sit with my coffee, and one of my dogs come out. He lays on the couch next to me, and we write together. And I just write out what I'm grateful for. But I also write out what I'm grateful for that I don't have yet, or it has not already happened yet. And I let it flow. So I write, I'm grateful for my children. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my home. I'm grateful for my clients. And then I talk into what I let it flow until it flows into what I want that I don't have yet. But I write it as if it's already happened. Because again, we talked about before, Dr. C, your brain doesn't know the difference of if you have it or not. All it knows is that it's already happened. So of course it's going to bring it to you. So I'm grateful for the 5-figure months. I'm grateful for whatever it is you want. I'm grateful for the money in my bank account, the constant flow of money in my bank account. I'm grateful for my new pool, if that's what you want, like whatever it is, but you're grateful as if it already happened. And I work to do this every day. I'm not perfect, but I'm saying messy makes millions. So I'm okay with it. I give myself grace. And, but I do that's one thing I hate to say try. I try to do consistently. We're going to go with that word. And I do it majority of the time, but I also realize when I don't do it, because it's obvious inside of my business. My business starts to feel heavy. It starts to feel pressure. It starts to feel a little chaotic. And so I go back to my gratitude, and it kind of grounds me. And also I'll reach out to my team, and they help ground me as well.
I love this because I think the aspect of a gratitude list, a lot of people are like, oh, it's like, I'm not want to do it, or they've heard about it before. But the difference is you feel that difference. If there are things you do every day, I notice when I don't go to the yoga studio, how like I'll do it at home, but it's not the same. And it just being able to be in that environment, whatever it is, yes, it might be an hour long, but I'm still taking myself out of the everyday. And just like the gratitude list, I think when we're able to focus on being grateful, we cannot physically and mentally think of the negative when we're in the gratitude space. Like it might change right after you've written it, but when you're in that space, it's really difficult to think of the negative, and it just rewires the brain too, just like what you were talking about. Being able to acknowledge the things that you are grateful for, whether they're already there or they're on their way, but being
Right.
able to put that in the universe or whatever you believe in.
Exactly. Like you said, you can't be depressed if you're in gratitude. It's impossible. It's impossible to be sad when you're in gratitude. And I love what you brought up yoga, because I feel like that's another important piece for entrepreneurs is movement. Because for me, I can be in this office all day and sitting in this chair working on the computer, and that doesn't serve your business either. If you're constantly in that mode, your business is actually going to stall versus flourish, because you're not allowing yourself that time away for you. So self-care is really important, whatever that looks like for you. But movement is really important in some way, whether it's get out and walk for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, or, connect with nature a little bit. Because if I don't know if everybody here works from home or online, but whether you're in an office or whatever, wherever you are, you still need that time to just like step away and take a break. And lunch is great, but you're again sitting and eating. And if you're not sitting and eating and you're sitting over the kitchen sink, that doesn't help work either. You get to sit and enjoy your meal, and you also get to find time to move and create that creativity and flow, inside of your brain, and allow yourself, because it's amazing when you do that, what the ideas that'll just show up for you. And you're like, wow. And that only happens if you're out and about doing stepping away from the computer and from work.
No, that's so true. That happened to me the other day at yoga, where my phrase for the year, it like popped into my head. Well, this was a few weeks ago, but being able to really think about things outside of business, just letting things flow. And it just came in really strong. I was like, oh, perfect. Because it's all about elevated impact this year. And I think that's a big part of just understanding when we take a step back from things, we allow other things to come in that we want, especially that gratitude. Because if we don't have that space, how's it going to come in? Or we're going to end up in burnout. I know I experienced burnout multiple times. Now I finally got a handle on it, but it took a while. And I think other people do. But to your point, it's really focusing on self-care. Movement is so important, even if it's dancing in the kitchen. It could be
I
something
love
so
that.
simple. I mean,
I
I
always
don't
put
really
music
dance, but
on. I always put music on when I'm in the bathroom getting ready for the day, or if I'm about to come on and do either a podcast episode or a guest appearance, or even just go live for my clients. I'll blast the music inside my bathroom just to get my energy going because that gets me moving and that gets me in flow. And then I'm just in rhythm and a flow. And I love what you shared about your just pop that your word just popping in because you allowed the space for that to come. And that happened with me with my podcast. So that's another thing that I would love to, for people to know too. Just give yourself grace and make sure you're aligned with your next steps in your business. If something's not feeling right, trust that.
yeah.
Because when it came to my podcast last year, I had a goal by 2022 on my vision board. It was like podcast. And then it was November and I looked at my vision board and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even start my podcast. So I reached out to a producer and she told me what I needed to do. I brought her on to produce it. But I couldn't come up with a name. And I thought of a name and I thought it was amazing. And I was like, I'm going to gear it toward moms because I'm a mom.
Yeah.
And then the name just wasn't landing for me. It was adorable. It was great. I thought it was awesome. And I'm like, but I wasn't feeling it. So I said, you know what? We're going to push this back until January, February, and I'm just going to allow myself to wait till that name appears. And around New Year's Day, I was in the hotel with my kids and my mom and my sister, and we took a little trip for them, for the kids, for the holiday. And we were in the hotel and I was sleeping and I woke up in the morning and I said, be she, be seen, be heard, be empowered. And that's how it came. So allow yourself the space to be creative. Don't push anything. Like just give yourself grace and trust that you have everything in you and you're going to get the answers you want. So alignment is another keyword I'd love to share that I learned along the way. That was one of my lessons.
That's a very powerful one because when it's not aligned, you are hitting more obstacles. But once you realize when it is aligned, there is more success. And I'm really curious if you could share a success story or two of a client that you have worked with that you would like to share today.
Sure. I was working, this is from the pandemic, and this is one of my favorite stories because it was a client that had come to us. I was doing a challenge and in like a boot camp type challenge online. And she had come into the challenge and she was really nervous and scared because she had worked for this company as a digital marketer for basically her whole life. And her and the owner had become friends. And she was the highest paid person in her company. Well, when the pandemic hit, she was let go. And she was not only was she let go, but she was extremely hurt because this person was her friend. And she didn't know what she was going to do. She had a family, she had children, she had a husband. They lived in New York City. So she was very scared. So she came into the challenge and we started working together. And I would give her, I have an accountability piece built in where I meet with all my clients one-on-one once a month. So that helps keep them on track and we set up their specific goals. So she would come in every month and she would just get everything done because she was like, I can't go into that accountability call without how Heidi discussed last month done. But the great thing about that is she was hitting her mark and we created her numbers and she was hitting her numbers. And then by month 2 to 2.5, she started exceeding her numbers. So by month 4, she was on track for a multi-six-figure year. And she would come in and want to change up things. And she'd be like, but what if I do this? And I'm like, I love you. And let's just stay with the system because the system works. And she would laugh and she'd be like, okay. But by month 4, she came in and she's like, I'm going to have a multi-six-figure year this year. She was already hitting her 5 figures. So it was really, really exciting.
That is so exciting. I'm laughing because that used to be me where I'm just like, oh, I have this great idea. Let's change this. And they're like, no, 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 focus.
Oh,
It's like
yes.
shiny object syndrome.
We can play with it once we're consistently
Right.
doing this. Let's get this on this. Well, let's get on track and consistent with this because we know this works. Then
Mhm.
we can play with it a little bit and tweak it, and you can get creative. But right now, stick with the plan.
Yeah, yeah, I've learned my lesson. That was a few years ago.
Because I did the same thing, and that's why I used to throw spaghetti at the wall, and I had shiny object syndrome, and I would try things once and it didn't work, and I'm like, that didn't work. Of course it
Yeah.
worked. I didn't work it properly, or I didn't give it enough time to allow it to work, right?
Mhm. Exactly. The time factor is so important because we'll try one thing once, and if it doesn't work, or we're like, I know I would be like, well, nobody got it, or it just doesn't seem like it's a good fit, so I'm just not going to do it ever again. And that just like creates barriers where you didn't look at it a different way or try something different in the same capacity and tweaking things. But that's a lot of lessons I've learned along the way. It's the perfectionism in me. If it's not perfect, I don't want it. Thank God I've released that a lot. And just with a lot of the success with your clients, what are some of the systems that you use on the back end of your business as well? If you could share some
Systems, you mean like platforms?
platforms, tools, anything along those lines.
Okay, so we use well, I have a money system, which is what I move my clients through, but that's my system that I created.
Mhm.
And I'll talk into that first, and then I'll share some systems we use. But and we use basic systems. We don't use anything crazy. I'm not tech savvy, so I don't do tech, and my team does it, and I let them use what they like, and it works for us. So I try to keep everything as super simple as possible. Down the road, maybe we'll, move and try some other systems, but right now it's working. So my money system that I move my clients through stands for, it's an acronym, and it stands for the 5 steps I move them through in order to create their 6-figure business within 6 months. And that's marketing. The M stands for marketing. And that's really just getting your messages dialed in, getting your avatar keyed in, because and knowing exactly who you're talking to. So your message resonates with them and lands with them. Because it's all, at the end of the day, it's all about them, connecting with them in order to move them through your funnel of working with you. And most entrepreneurs don't have a problem with what they do or their expertise. It all comes down to when there's an issue with their business and they're not hitting their goals, it's marketing. And it can also be masculine, being in masculine versus feminine too, like not having that healthy balance. So then the O stands for offer, creating that irresistible offer where it's a no-brainer for them to say yes to working with you. The N is for network, because network is your net worth. So, and many people are nervous about networking, and I'm an introvert. So it's, networking was really tough for me. I still don't like big crowds, but I make a goal for myself. I'm going to connect with this many people in this environment, and then I'm going to step out. So I don't need to connect with 100 people. Maybe I want to connect with 3 or 5 at that specific event. And then but really understanding networking is different things. It includes collaboration, because connection and collaboration, like I said, are currency. Where are we? Net money. The E is for enrollment, because many entrepreneurs feel slimy or are afraid to ask for the enrollment, right? Ask for the sale, ask for the card. So we do a lot of enrollment trainings around how to guide them through the process with ease, so they're automatically a yes, and you're making the offer very easily. And then the Y stands for you, which is really just you being you authentically, all your quirks, your crazies, your whatever makes you unique, and bringing that to the table and moving through the fear of sharing that with your audience. And you asked about my systems. So my systems are, my computer is doing something funky. So there we go. I had to close something, just popped up. I love tech. See, I don't like it. I brought up tech that I said, and that's what happened. I created that. I manifested that thing to pop up. So watch your verbiage. I'm big on my clients with verbiage. It's all like shift that I can't or I don't like into I love it, because it'll work with you. The systems we use, our email campaign market platform is super simple. It's MailChimp. I don't use anything complicated. Our landing pages we use, and that's not my choice. It's my partner choice. She likes it. It's easy for her. So that's works for me. If it's easy for her and she's good at it, then that's all that matters to me. And then for our communication for our team, in our organization, we use Trello. My VA, our assistant loves that. So I'm like, great, you teach me how to use it and I'll use it. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I make everything easy for my people. That works for all of us.
Yeah, it makes it so seamless too, because if somebody knows what they're doing with that program, that system, they can just add you in and show you exactly what they're doing so you can keep track of everything, but it makes it very simple. But I love the acronym of money, being able to really go through each step with your clients, because I think everything you touched on is so pivotal in each aspect of business, especially the networking event or networking in general. I'm an introvert extrovert, but going to networking events, I've been going to a lot recently, like multiple a week, and I love it. I love connecting with people, but I'm more the one-on-one versus like a large group. Like it makes me overwhelmed a little bit, but being able to pick out the 3 to 5 people, I'm like, okay, I can jive with this person. This person's my energy, or like we're on the same wavelength. I like this. And then I like do end up leaving. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because there's so many ways to be crafty about it. It doesn't have to be overwhelming, especially if you are an introvert or don't like networking events. At the end of networking events, it's building a relationship with someone, a connection with someone, and being able to, you never know what can come from anything. It's just being able to connect first and foremost, I always believe. But I love that you brought all that up. And I wanted to just quickly touch on the masculine and feminine energy, because we talked about it earlier, but we didn't go into it. And I think that's something that a lot of women struggle with in particular, where they are more in the masculine. I just had a conversation literally yesterday about this. So I'd love a little bit of your perspective on moving through the masculine to the feminine and being able to just show up as us, but also get things done.
Yeah, that's a great question. I still navigate through that because I'm still leaning toward the masculine more. Being a single mom, I step into that easier. One thing I do want to share real quick though is another system we use for lead gen, which is flow chat. So, and I don't get paid for that or anything. None of these things do I get paid for, but we use it, and my team loves it. So if you're not using it and your lead gen is a little disorganized and you don't know where to put them or what to do or who you've talked to, who you haven't, check out FlowChat because they're a great company, and their customer service is great. They're really, really, I think, good. So masculine versus feminine. Okay, let's go. um, so masculine energy is very goal oriented. They set goals, they set tasks, and they're always in completion mode. They're very highly driven. They make decisions quickly. Feminine does not make decisions quickly. They're not trusting of themselves many times. Like masculine will make decisions easily, but not necessarily with their heart. Where the feminine want to take their time because they want to do, they got to feel it. Some people got to see if they're called to it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And since the masculine's goal oriented, the feminine is desire oriented, and that took me a long time to figure out, like, what are my desires? Well, I have my goals. Like, why do I have to desire something? Well, I can desire money just because I want it. Like, it's okay. I didn't think that was okay, right? You can desire a certain handbag, and that's okay. It's not a goal to have it. It's a desire, right? You don't have to have it, but you want it, and that's enough that you should be able to have it. Like, you can have anything you want to have. So when it comes to our business, it's really important that we have a healthy balance, but the energy and the flow, if you're not attracting clients or you're not making the income, the revenue, money that you want to make inside of your business or in your life, typically it's because there's a block there. There's a money block. And that stems from being in your masculine and not having that healthy balance of feminine and masculine. You get to, as women, and I'm going to talk more about this into women than men because I don't know what it's like for men. But for women, it's really just being in a place of you're okay to receive. You're great. You're grateful to receive. You're welcoming to receive. When somebody tells you you're beautiful or you look pretty, say thank you. For years, I was like, oh, well, no, I don't. We'll pick out what's wrong. Oh, well, you know what? My makeup didn't work today, or I'm having a bad hair day, right? We won't say thank you. So just being in receivement. Somebody wants to buy you dinner, allow them. Somebody don't try to fight it. Like, many times we'll fight for the bill, like with our friends or even on a date or something like that. Like, that's being in our masculine, and we want to be able to be open to receiving, because the more we're open to receiving, the more the universe, God, whatever your belief system is around that, is going to be opening the doors and allowing you to receive more. Because it doesn't know, right? It only goes off of what you're looking for. So if we're always in, I never have enough money, well, the universe is like, she loves that. She loves not having enough money. So we're going to keep that coming, right? I'm
Wow.
in abundance of money. Money flows easily to me. My bank account is always filled with money. And that's where, and then the universe or God is like, oh, she always has money. Okay. So there it is. Another client just showed up or paid in full, or you wake up to a course being sold, whatever that looks like. Or somebody making, booking a call on your calendar and they're going to be your next enrollment. So just that's but it starts with being open to receiving. For me, that's where it started. And also, it starts with being open to your emotions. Healing is feeling, like we chatted about.
Yeah.
I don't cry. I was always in driven mode. I was always busy. Staying busy all the time is not in your feminine, it's in your masculine. Allowing yourself to meditate, allowing yourself to soak in a bathtub, allowing and not feeling guilty about it, releasing the guilt around putting yourself first, because that's also what's going to help you be open to receive. If you are, if somebody gives you a gift, thank you. And there's with no expectations that you now have to give them a gift, right? You're just in receiving. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
that's
Okay.
beautifully said. And I think it really goes back to that receiving aspect, because when we're always busy, always trying to do things that is more the masculine, and you're just like, I got to get it done, and this is my schedule. That was definitely me. And I've learned to move more into my feminine aspect and side of myself. But I think it is really hard for a lot of individuals that I've spoken to, with mainly women, some men too, but really being able to receive. And I think that's a big part of running a business as well, like that flow and that desire aspect. I think just every aspect of that allows us to understand a little bit better about ourselves and where we're at and how we can move through life a little bit more easily. Just like with systems, being able to know, okay, this one works, let's use it. You don't have to complicate it or reinvent the wheel. It's just doing things that really align with us, because when we do allow things to flow, and I'm like talking directly to myself too, allowing more flexibility and adaptability as well as receiving, more things can happen if we allow that too. But if we're so focused on like tunnel vision of the goal, it's great to have goals, but I think it's great to have both and an integration of the two. I'm really glad
Releasing
we
that
got.
control. Like I used to white knuckle everything, like, gotta have it, gotta be in control. This has to look like this, like letting it go and going, okay, it might look different than what I
Mhm.
wanted. Like I know where I'm going
Yeah.
and I'm open to however it looks like of me getting there. I'm opening to that. I'm open to that and trusting that it's all going to work out for me. Everything is always working out for me.
Got to keep reminding ourselves. No, that's perfect. But, I've been so enjoying this conversation. I'm just really curious, if you had to do things over again, is there anything you would change in your journey?
I would get out of my own way. I would get out of my own way. I would faster. I would be willing to walk through the fear and have the meltdown after it was over and break down after it was over, because breakdown leads to your breakthrough. And the only way you're going to break through to that next level or to those goals that you set for yourself or those desires that you want is to actually take action and take intentional action. It doesn't mean taking action of like, I got to do, I got to do, I got to do, but taking intentional action.
Mhm.
Asking for help. I was never good at asking for help, and that's a masculine. That's in your masculine. And it's like we can do it ourselves. We do it better ourselves. So starting to ask for help and trusting that the way they're doing it is going to work. And just because it's not how I would do it, it's okay. It gets like I get to trust because I asked for help. I get to trust that my team's got it, or I get to trust that the person I asked for help with. But asking for help is a really big challenge for me. I was a lone wolfer, so I would be more of a community participant
Mm.
and ask for that support more than I did at the beginning.
Yes, that's very wise. And I think that's where we're able to grow, because we can't do everything perfectly, or the way we do it might work, but how we can lend that to somebody else to take over, they can allow that to grow and flourish the way we want to. So we can really be in our zone of genius versus doing all the other things that maybe we don't love doing or take a lot more time, where we could hire somebody else to do it that would do it maybe better than us. I know that's been my thing, allowing to release control. But Heidi, where can people find you, find your program, everything else that you're up to? We're going to link everything below, but if you could let us know too.
You can find me at HeidiSchalk.com. If you want to chat and connect, I would love to connect with you. I have a free call that's called the Earn Six Figures Now call. You can actually book that on the website and through Instagram. I have my Instagram as Heidi Schalk Coaching. And of course, you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn under Heidi Schalk. And yeah, I'd love to, or DM me. Love to connect with you. Love to chat.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Heidi, for all your wisdom today, just sharing your journey, all the ups, downs, everything in between. But I so enjoyed your beautiful light and your energy. And thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Dr. Karen. This has been so much fun and so amazing. I love your energy, and yeah, it's just been such a pleasure. So thank you for doing all you do and for having me on today.
Absolutely. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment below what was the biggest takeaway from today, and we'll see you on the next episode.